Bienvenidos a Sandals Church. Mi nombre es Byron Sarabia y muchas gracias por invitarnos a su casa hoy. Le queremos desear un feliz Día de la Madre a todas ustedes. Para muchas de ustedes, sé que hoy es un día de celebrar todo el sacrificio y esfuerzo que han hecho por su familia. Y por eso les queremos decir gracias. Y también sabemos que es un día difícil para otras personas. Y para algunas de ustedes tienen un deseo en el corazón de ser madre y por lo tanto no se ha realizado. Aquí en Sandals Church tenemos una visión de ser real con nosotros mismos, con Dios y con los demás. Entonces hoy, si está celebrando o si está nomás tratando de seguir adelante, les queremos decir que aquí hay un lugar para ti de ser conocida y de ser amada. Y si nunca te has conectado con nosotros, queremos conocerte. Dirígete a move.sc/new y dinos quién eres y de dónde estás viendo. Nos encanta ver contigo todos los fines de semana y eso se ha hecho posible por toda la gente que ha dado a lo que Dios está haciendo aquí en Sandals Church. Y por eso nosotros le queremos decir gracias a todos ustedes. Y si quiere apoyar a lo que Dios está haciendo aquí en Sandals Church, dirígete a give.sc. Pero ahorita vamos a comenzar cantando canciones de adoración a Dios, recordando que no importa dónde estamos, lo que importa es quién es Dios. Y recordando que si cantamos juntos, nos unimos a toda la gente de Dios sobre todo el mundo.
Me da mucha alegría que estén con nosotros ahora. Nosotros cantamos de lo que Dios ha hecho. Cantamos de su fidelidad. Cantamos de su victoria. Amén. Y ahora les quiero invitar que canten con nosotros. Amén. Yeah.
Canta conmigo. Ven y adoremos a Rey. Ven y adoremos a Rey. Ven a postrarte ante Él, grandes sus obras. Mira lo que era el Señor, mira que grande es su amor, grandes sus obras, grandes sus obras. Cielo, la muerte venció, libera, cativa, cadenas rompió. Oh Dios, grandes tus obras. Cantamos alegres en su libertad, exalta su nombre, Jesús el Señor. Oh Dios, grandes tus obras. Las pruebas has sido fiel, tú serás hoy y por siempre fiel. Grande tus obras y yo sé lo harás otra vez. Tus promesas son sí y amén. Grande tus obras, grande tus obras. La muerte venció, libera, cativa, cadenas rompió. Oh Dios, grandes tus obras. Cantamos alegres en tu libertad. Exalta su nombre, Jesús el Señor. Oh Dios, grandes grande el poder. El del cielo la muerte venció, libera cautivo, cadenas rompió. Oh Dios, grandes tus obras, cantamos alegres en su libertad, exalta su nombre, Jesús el Señor. Oh Dios, grandes tus obras, grandes tus obras, grandes tus obras.
Amén. Y ahora le vamos a dar gloria por su fidelidad, porque creemos en nuestro Dios Padre Santo, que Él es fiel. Amén. Cante conmigo. Te doy gloria. Te doy gloria por tu fidelidad. Y ya estoy listo para hacer tu voluntad. Hacia adelante, a ti te seguiré. Y ya estoy listo para hacer tu voluntad. Vamos a cantar. Derrama tu presencia, Dios. Queremos más de ti, oh Señor. Cantamos. Derrama tu presencia, Dios. Ven con poder y transfórmanos. Yeah. Cante conmigo. En cada día, tu gracia bastará. Yeah. Y estoy creyendo que viene lo mejor. La cruz delante, mi esperanza eres Dios. Y en ti mi Cristo, ya viene lo mejor. Yeah. Vamos a cantar. Derrama tu presencia, Dios. Queremos más de ti, oh Señor. Oh, derrama tu presencia, Dios. Ven con poder y transfórmanos. Dice la Biblia, el Señor mismo marchará a frente de mí y estará conmigo. Nunca te dejará ni te abandonará. Te tiene y siempre te va a cuidar. ¿Cuánto deseamos eso? Viene hoy mi victoria. Por fe, milagros yo puedo ver. Mi Dios me dio una promesa y no se detendrá. Viene hoy mi victoria. Por fe, milagros yo puedo ver. Mi Dios me dio una promesa y no se detendrá. Cante Canta conmigo, derrama, derrama tu presencia, oh Dios. Ven, ven con poder y transformanos. Te damos gracias, Padre, por siempre. Amén y amén.
Hey, Sandals Church, happy Mother's Day. Man, we are so excited for you. I know that Mother's Day is going to be very, very different than you want it to be, but it can still be awesome if we let God into it. And so I'm so glad that you are here today. I'm being joined by the mother of my children, my wife, Tammy Brown. Say hello.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Super glad you guys are here. Man, a couple of years ago, Tammy and I, we made a friend. Her name is Lisa Bevere, and she has so blessed our life, and we asked Lisa to bless your life today. And so you are in for a special treat. You want to just talk about how Lisa has just impacted you?
Yeah, I saw Lisa almost a decade ago now, and she immediately spoke into my life, spoke to my heart as a woman, added value to me in a way that no one had up to that point. She's someone that we both respect. We've seen her publicly and experienced her privately, and she is the real deal. As you know, like, we love you guys, Sandals Church, and it's important to us, the voice that we put in front of you guys. So we're just so excited about the message that she has. It's Mother's Day weekend. Lisa has been a spiritual mother to me, and so we're honored that she is going to be with us today.
Yeah, and in the message, she promoted you to co-pastor. So what I was thinking, because Tammy didn't shy away at all from Lisa calling her a co-pastor, I said, hey, like, Tammy, okay, you can have the meeting with the governor this week.
Then I was all,
yeah, she's like,
busy.
Yeah, so just enjoy it.
Thank you, Lisa, but I will leave that to
But no,
Matt.
thank you. Look, I don't want to take the meeting either. Listen, we love you, Sandals Church. Here's what we're going to do. We want you to listen to her. She's going to talk to you from her kitchen, from Colorado. And Tammy and I both already listened to the message. And what we want to do is we want to talk to you about what we got out of it. So if you're a man, don't tune out. If you're single, don't tune out. If you're not a mom, don't tune out, because there are some real amazing spiritual nuggets that we want to bring out and talk about with you at the end, because some of the things Lisa said, just as always, right? Lisa just blows me away with what so easily comes out of her mouth. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did you get that from? But it's literally, she just hears from God. And this is something we've never done, but you know what? We're living in times we've never lived in before. And I was tired of listening to myself. So I asked Lisa, I said, look, man, it's Mother's Day weekend. We got a lot of moms who are struggling, maintaining their sanity, trying to figure out how to live. And I thought, what a better opportunity for our church to hear from a mom, somebody who's been a spiritual mom to Tammy, and just a female voice of wisdom in my life. We love Lisa, and she's blessed us, and I know she's going to bless you. So give her the next 30 minutes, and then Tammy and I are going to come back, and we're going to talk about some things that maybe you missed but needed to hear.
Happy Mother's Day. I cannot even tell you how excited I am to be spending my Mother's Day with my Sandals Church family. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, wait, we've never seen you before. That would be all the men, because I have had 3 times opportunities to gather with your women, fell in love with them. I am all about cultivating kindness. And I am so incredibly honored that Pastor Matt and Tammy would ask me to bring a Mother Day message to you. Okay, so here's the exciting thing. You are in my kitchen. I know that some of you are watching me online. You're in sweatpants. You're totally relaxed. You're not in a building, but I'm going to pretend like you and I are sitting across the table from one another. And since I am meeting some of you for the very first time, I'm going to actually put up a picture of my family. So in front of you, you're going to see that I have one son, sitting with the dog. That is my single son. His name is Alexander. I would really love it if he could get married by the end of the year because I have grandparent greed. You're also going to see that I have 4 grandkids. I have imported a daughter-in-law from Texas, a daughter-in-law from Alabama, a daughter-in-law from Seattle, so the Washington State area. I would love to import. We do not export, import another daughter-in-law from California. So just be thinking about that, mamas out there. Everything has changed. We're at unprecedented times. I'd love to help you. I'd love to help you go from mother to grandmother. But I want to talk to you about this incredible day that we set aside to honor mothers, Mother's Day. Now, it used to be, it was just like, oh my gosh, mothers, you're amazing. Well, now we know mothers are way more than amazing. I hate it when I hear mothers use the disclaimer of, oh, I'm just a stay-home mother. Everybody's finding out now that a just stay-home mother means pretty much everything. You are now educators. You are working from home. You have no buffer of school. You are doing things that you did not even know you could do 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. And I want to celebrate you. I want to also single out the single mothers. You guys are heroes. I have no idea how you are doing everything that you do. And then the women who are married to men, who are deployed in the military, you also are my heroes. And then some of you, in addition to being mothers and taking care of your own family, you're first responders. You are out on the front line and you are fighting this virus. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a mother. There has never been a more important time to celebrate mothers and remember the why behind being a mother. And when I was looking at what I was going to talk about, I want you to know I have been married for 38 years. That means I have made so many horrible mistakes. I have done a lot of things right by accident and a lot of things wrong on purpose. I don't know if I told you this, but I'm not just a mother. I am a Sicilian mother, which is a little different than an Italian mother. We're all feeders, so that's why I love having you in my kitchen. But Sicilians, we have a little bit more of a challenge than some Italians might have. And so I brought a lot of intensity and a lot of really the wrong ideas about what it meant to be a mother. And I made all of the mistakes for you. So I am going to share with you what I wish I would have known back then. And to that end, there is a photo that I'm going to share with you. And in this photo, I am 34 years of age. You're going to see, sitting next to my husband, who looks really cute and handsome. I look super stressed. I'm barely smiling. I have 3 little boys. You know, I have 4 in real life. Was about ready to get pregnant with my 4th. I had just survived an airplane ride from hell. John had taken us all on a missions trip to Indonesia. And for some reason, on the leg from Guam to Hawaii, my son, Austin, released the air masks in the row. And he was sitting behind me. I had just fallen asleep. It was a really long flight when the flight attendant shakes me and is like, "Are those your children behind you?" And I just wanted to lie. I wanted to say, no, I don't know those children. I have no idea whose children. They're like, he just released all those air masks, you know, the ones you're supposed to put on first before you put it on somebody else. And he said, you know what, you're lucky because this is a full flight and we're closer to Hawaii. Because if we were closer to Guam, it would be your fault that we have to go back. So I didn't sleep at all. I remember we had this little layover in Hawaii. We were staying at a ghetto hotel, and we ran away and we're walking on the grounds of this magnificent Hilton Hawaiian village, and somebody offered to take a photo. And I remember at the time thinking, I don't want a photo. I look terrible. My bangs are going crazy. I don't want a photo of myself. But I'm so glad that they actually took that photo, because I remember that moment. And I wish I could take that 34-year-old Lisa aside, put my arm around her and say, we're going to go for a walk. First thing I would tell her is what I hope you're going to hear. I would have said, baby girl, you're doing a better job than you know you're doing. You've got a list that every single night you accumulate everything you think you've done wrong, everything you think you could have done better, and you hold yourself up every single night hostage to the failures of your day. I would say, girl, you need to tear up that list, because you're never going to do it perfectly. Instead of having a list of what you did wrong, I would empower Lisa to have a list of what she did right. You know, God is always about growth, not guilt. Mamas, you need to tear up the list. You need to look at your day. Maybe it's just, I took a shower. Maybe it's just nobody bled today. Maybe it's just I didn't yell. Maybe it's just we laughed and enjoyed one another, which would bring me to the second thing I would say to Lisa. I would say, Lisa, you're so busy surviving your days that you're not enjoying them. I was so busy tri-folding the underwear. I was so busy taking a toothbrush to the grout to bleach it. I was so busy that I didn't have time to enjoy my husband or enjoy my children. Hey, mamas, I give you full permission to engage and to enjoy. You do not have to sacrifice every single day the things that actually God created to have refreshing in your life. You know, my boys don't remember that I tri-folded their underwear. They don't remember how clean the house was when they were young. What they do remember is the times that I played with them, the times that I laughed with them, the times that I talked to them, the times I said, okay, I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to let the other stuff go. So I'm going to give you permission to stop tri-folding the underwear, stop trying to make everything perfect, enjoy your family. Enjoy your family. You know, somebody asked my third son, who was pictured in the striped overalls, they said, hey, how come all four of you boys love God, love your parents, and are serving in some capacity in the ministry? And he said, can I get back with you on that? And he took some time and he thought about it. And he came back and he told him, my parents played cards with us and they spanked us. Now, I'm not saying you have to spank your kids, but what he was saying was we disciplined and we engaged. We ate dinner. Everything happened at the table in our house. And when dinner was over, my boys cleaned the kitchen. I didn't clean the kitchen. I made the mess in the kitchen. I did all the cooking. Your children are probably way more capable of doing things around the house than you know that they are capable of doing. So I'm going to give you permission to assign chores. I hope your kids aren't saying, I don't like this woman. You need to turn her off right now. No, when the family does things together, then there's more time for fun together. So you need to start letting yourself enjoy. Instead of being mad at your husband that he's playing with the kids while you're working in the kitchen, you get everybody else back in the kitchen. so you can join in on the fun. Another thing I would say, okay, you guys, I turned 60 next month. I'm turning 60. I can't even believe that. That's just crazy to me. But I would tell my 34-year-old self, girl, you need to enjoy that body. That is the best body you are ever going to have. You need to enjoy that body. Stop criticizing it. Stop being hard on yourself. If you want to be strong, but stop trying to be skinny. Get strength rather than be faint and weak and dieting. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Neglecting yourself, that's not godly. Neglecting yourself is not the same as denying yourself. Denying yourself is about when you say, God, you're enough. I'm going to follow you. But neglecting yourself is when you don't take care of something that he has given you. Enjoy that body. And if you want to ask anybody if what I'm saying is true, you just call one of the older women and they will say, I wish I would have liked my body better when I was younger because, hey, hitting 60, I feel like I've got some betrayal going on. Next thing is you need to enjoy your husband. You need to enjoy your husband. The Bible says the older women, that's me, are to teach and train the younger women how to love their husbands and train their children. But our culture really actually tells you, no. Train your husband and love your children. I'm going to tell you, you don't want to get that backwards. It will not go well with you. Train your children. It's easy to love your kids, but you got to be trained to love your husband. And I'm not picking on the men, but it's just easier. It's just easier to love cute little kids. Now, I'm going to tell you something else that I wish I would have known. I actually learned this lesson before this particular picture. And that was, I am not responsible for John. No, seriously. I know that sounds like, what are you saying? I don't know why. But I didn't just feel like I was a mother to my children. I felt like I was the mother of my husband. Now, that brought a whole lot more pressure on me than being the mother of my kids. When John and I were first married, we had our very first son, Addison, and we were married for 4 years. I was working full-time as a television producer, and John was working part-time. He was working part-time at a ministry. I had all the benefits. I was making more money. And I found myself so stressed out. And so I remember trying to relax. Relaxation was a crazy thing. And so I would take baths at night, and sometimes I would submerge myself where just my nose was above the water. And John would come in and look at me and say, what are you doing? And I'd say, I'm trying to relax. And he'd say, you know what? You just need to break and give these things to God. And I'd say, you know what? I don't want to break and give them to God. I want to give them to you. And because you are not carrying these things, I've got to carry all of these things for you. And then there was this moment. I was in the shower one night, and we had bought a shower massage. I'm trying to get my shoulders to go down. I'm so stressed out. I'm working full time. I'm breastfeeding a child. I'm making all the food organic. John's working part time. He's, just kind of laying in the sun. I'm like, I want to hit him. And I heard God say to me, you don't think John is a very good head of the household, do you? I said, I don't. He said, you think you can do it better. I said, I know I can do it better. And then the Spirit of God said, Lisa, John likes you doing everything. He said, it's a yoke to you, but it's a mantle to John. Throw it off your shoulders. I said, God, this man can't even remember to take out the garbage. Do you understand that if I surrender all of this, there is going to be diapers piled up to the ceiling? And in that moment, God began to replay the way that I was interacting with my husband. And he said, Lisa, all John has ever known is a mother. And that is why he acts like a little boy. He said, you are going to have to learn how to stop being his mother and start being his wife. Proverbs 14:1 says, a wise woman builds her house, but I didn't know how to build. And so I remember that was a turning point where I said, hey, maybe I'll just quit my job. I don't know what we need to do, but you know what, John? I'm not going to think I'm the source anymore, and I am not going to be your mother anymore. And I watched my husband go from a boy to a man when I stopped being his mother and started to be his co-laborer. Now, I hope you don't feel like I'm correcting you when I'm saying that, because maybe some of you are like, that woman is crazy. I would never try to be my husband's mother. But for the two people that might have felt that way, you might have some Italian in you, and you approached it the same way as me. I just want you to know, you don't have to mother your husband. You can go from mother back to lover. Just enjoy him, and you guys can have conversations about building instead of speaking in situations where you feel like you have to constantly change one another. So we are going to train our children and love our husbands, because that is way more fun than having those things flipped around. So now let's talk about how amazing women are. See, I believe that God created woman as the answer to the very first problem. See, long before there was the fall, there was a problem. You think, didn't all the problems start with the fall? No, the book of Genesis says that there was a problem. And that problem was, it is not good for man to be alone. Now, it didn't say that men aren't good. It said the man alone, that's not good. God created woman as the answer to the very first problem. I believe that women are multipliers of everything they come in contact with. When you look at the DNA of a man, he is an X and a Y. But you look at the DNA of a woman, and she is XX. She has this capacity to multiply. And I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 1. I'm going to read it out of the ESV, and I'm going to read chapter 1, verse 27 through 31. It says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Now let's think about this. Eve was always in Adam. It was God who said, you know what? This earth needs her voice. This earth needs her ability to multiply. This earth needs to be hearing the things that a woman brings to the equation, that multiplication. And then it says, and God blessed them. He blessed them. What does that even mean? He blessed them. It means that God released something intangible to make everything tangible in their life come together. And God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heaven, over every living thing that moves on the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for your food, and every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life. I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Now, one of the paraphrases, the Message paraphrase said, it was so good, so very good. What does this tell us? This tells us that healthy, God-blessed relationships prosper. They take responsibility. They multiply. They exercise something called dominion. And dominion is when I use the authority on my life to lift others. It is when I say, okay, I have a God-given gift on my life. How can I use that gift to lift other people? God gives dominion to the man, and he gives dominion to the woman. He does not give them dominion over each other. He gives them co-dominion over the earth, and he says, cause it to be fruitful, cause it to increase. But there was something called the fall. And the fall messed up all these areas of increase. And now all of a sudden, you see a breakdown between mankind and their heavenly creator. Then you see a breakdown, man to woman. Then you see a breakdown, people to the earth, parents to children, brother to brother, sister to sister. But here's the good news that I know all of you know. Jesus came to seek and save that which was lost. And every area of life that suffered loss, which was pretty much every area, he has given us back his name to have authority and dominion so that we can reorder things. There's never been a greater time for people to see loving relationships. There has never been a more important time for us to do this gender thing well. I believe that houses are the healthiest when it has both the voice of a father and the voice of a mother, and that together those two can have one heart and speak to the same purpose. So I want to talk about some stats that they came out with, because again, we just said how amazing women are. We just said how women are an answer. I'm going to give you some stats that Boston University came out with. They did a study. They're like, yeah, I'm not sure if it's really true that it's not good for man to be alone. That's Genesis 2:18. So they said, let's do this whole study. Let's spend thousands and thousands of dollars and let's see if this is true. And what they discovered was that 80% of the violent crimes committed in the United States of America are actually committed by single men. Not good. They also discovered that if a man is single, he will actually, and y'all don't be scared, he will actually die 10 years earlier than a man who is married. A married man will outlive his single brothers by 10 years. Now, I don't know why women are acting desperate to get married, because single women and married women die at the same age. So you need to stop being desperate. You need to say, I don't know who I'm going to add 10 years to. I need to think about this. They also discovered that if a man was a high school graduate and he got married, the woman added, and this is amazing, added to his earning potential of the same level as a college education. If he was a college graduate, the woman gave him a master's. If he had a master's, that wife gave him a PhD. That's crazy amazing. See, I believe that male and female together is a power union. It's not a power struggle. Marriage is a power union. So this is why it's important that we celebrate mothers. And y'all, guys, you'll get your Father's Day in June. But right now, we're going to talk about the differences in our strengths. So men are really good with something called structure. Now, that doesn't mean women can't be good with structure, but it means that men are usually more structurally mindseted. Like, for example, I told you I raised 4 boys. I saved every single one of those Legos that my boys had when they were little. I put them in Tupperware containers so that I could be the favorite grandmother. And my boys When their dad was little, this is before cell phones, that's how old we are, John would land in the Orlando airport, call me and say, baby, I'm on my way home. What was he really saying? He was saying, Lisa, I know you have no concept of time. I know our children are running around in their underwear. I know you probably haven't taken a shower in 2 days. You got 45 minutes to get the house cleaned up and all of that taken care of. It was a warning. I'd be like, oh, good. I'm so glad to see you. I can't wait to see you. Hang up the phone. Boys, oh my gosh, Dad's on his way. Everybody would go into high alert. I'd brush my teeth. Everything was happening. But my boys were super excited about making their dad proud. Every young man has 2 goals in life. He wants to make his dad proud, and he wants to beat him at sports. Those are the 2 major goals that they will shoot for. And so my boys were too small to beat John in sports, so they would build these Lego towers. And it was all about how tall the tower could go. And when John would come home, he would look at the towers and he would be like, wow, I really like this tower. And then the boys would say, Dad, watch. They'd get a car out of the toy box, back it up, and crash it into the Lego tower. It was always about a big build and a big crash. One time, and it was only one time, I was allowed to babysit my friend's daughter. And when I put her on the floor with Legos, she didn't build towers. She built rooms. And she created these rooms with beds and chairs and tables. And she actually got out Lego people. My boys were okay with driving cars without people in it, but she got out a guy Lego and a girl Lego, and she had them holding hands. I remember my boys being horrified. They're like, what is she doing with our Lego? Why is a girl playing right now? And I think she knew she had some kind of power. So she had the guy Lego and the girl Lego kiss. And when that happened, my boys are like, now we're going to have to burn those Legos. I want you to know this little girl at 4 or 5 years of age was exemplifying something that women are really good at, and that is nurture. Men have structure, and women have something called nurture. Nurture is the ability to make connections. Nurture is the ability to protect relationships. Nurture is the ability to create an environment for the young or at risk to flourish. And when we talk about the church, I know that Pastor Matt and Pastor Tammy want to celebrate that the men have been amazing at providing structure and leadership and guidance. But the Cultivate Women, you have created this amazing environment of nurture that has made this church not just big, but made it safe. It is built in a different way when it's just women or just men. But together, Sandals Church has represented what God always meant to be very good. Another thing is the man guards the house, but the woman guards the heart. Maybe you think, no, that's not important. Oh, listen to me. There is no more noble commission than guarding the heart of your children, guarding the heart of your husband, guarding the heart of your house of worship, guarding the heart of your city, guarding the heart. Think about right now how many people need guardians of the heart. They are looking for people who are safe, where they can share their fears, their worries, their concerns. And I believe that you are noble guardians of the heart. And if anybody ever tried to strip the value of that contribution from you, I'm just going to tell you, my favorite thing I've ever done in my life is be a mother. It's not standing on stages. It's not writing books. It's being a mother. I want you to know You are not just a mother. You are a hero. You are a woman of virtue, which means a force for good. You are a woman of valor, which means courageous. Being a mother is being a warrior for life, somebody who whispers prayers and goes right into the throne room of God. Also, being a mother means you give out and you give out and you give out. This is your pause. This is your day. This is your permission to receive, because you have every right to come into the presence of your Father, because long before you became a mother, you were first and foremost his daughter.
And that is why I love Lisa Bevere. She's just a woman of God who has not only wisdom, but experience. And I just think there were so many good things for us to talk about. What were some of the takeaways for you, Matt?
Yeah, the number one takeaway, and I hope you did not miss this, and just so you know, when I listen to a speaker, I'm listening for that nugget of wisdom, and I thought the thing that was the most amazing, whether you're married or single, young or old, is my question to you is, what's the yoke that you're wearing? So a yoke is a piece of equipment you put on an animal so that it can pull something. So it's pulling you back, it's holding you back. What's the yoke that you're pulling that's a mantle to your spouse? And so for Tammy and I, early on, we really struggled with finances. And so Tammy paid the bills. And let me just tell you, she would pay the bills, come out, it's the end of the world, we're all gonna die.
It was not pretty.
And it was hell to pay for everyone about everything for at least a couple of hours after we paid the bills. And we fought about who can pay the bills. And a big issue was, and rightfully so, you didn't trust me with the finances. And we went to counseling over who gets to pay the bills. We paid money to someone, a third party.
Money we didn't have.
Yeah, to
Money was
teach
tight.
us, how to pay bills. But Tammy, just share with our, just our church, how that helped you and changed you as you allowed me, and I made some mistakes. I mean, I missed some bills early on because I was a boy. And part of the reason I was a boy is you kind of were my mom. And so there was some changing that had to happen there. But tell our Sandals family what that did for you when you let me take that on, and it was a yoke for you, but it was a mantle for me.
Yeah, carrying the weight of our finances, being the only eyes on them. Back in that day, we're like doing checks and balancing a checkbook. There was not even like online.
And there was
checking.
no room. There was no room for margin.
And we were starting off. It was such a hard time, but the truth is, I didn't trust Matt in that time. I thought, I do this, I'm the one that's more responsible. And that's one of the things that was such a standout to me. I was convicted and also so glad to not be in that place anymore of just, I mothered you and I didn't treat you like my husband. When she talks to that point, it's so good about just wives treating your spouse like a son. The truth is, I didn't trust you. We were young. That's how you start off in marriage. I didn't let you grow up. And as soon as I'm so stressed and nervous every month, and Matt said, well, I'll do the bills. Little did either of us know, you're actually brilliant with finances and numbers.
So far.
And he took it on, and it was like, I would be stressed for the whole week following, bill time, and you're just like done. And immediately moves it over to a better system. And I was so relieved. And that was one of such a huge growth part in our marriage, because we became partners instead of me mothering you. And the more that I mothered you in that way, the more you behaved irresponsibly. And as soon as what was such a burden to me was given to you, you rose to the occasion, and it was a blessing to you, and you grew up in that ways. And when you grew up, we grew up together in a new way. So I loved her point about wives, just don't treat your husband like you're their mother. And here's the thing, as wives, we get so frustrated when we do that, but actually the more we do it, the more it plays off of each other, so it's like we create our own situation in that. And it happens innocently. I know it takes intentionality to get out of it, but that was such a good word, I think, for anybody who's married. And here's the thing, when you and I were listening to this message, we were thinking about, what about the people in here who aren't moms or aren't married? And I thought, man, I wish I would have had that wisdom before we were married. When I was a young girl, thinking about my future, thinking about who I wanted to be. And so I think if you're not married and you're a young woman right now, I think that word from Lisa is so good for you to tuck away for when it really matters, about you're not looking for someone else to mother. You're looking for someone to be a partner with.
We talked about something Tammy needed to release, but let me tell you something I needed to release. And guys, listen to me. It's so important that you, as the spiritual leader, don't give your input on everything. And one of the areas we fought on was how the house looked. I thought I had to have input, right? Because I'm at least 50%, right? Of how this, and at the end of the day, I don't care how it looks. I just care that it looks like she's married to a man. That's all I care about, is that people walk in and go, okay, this is a traditional heterosexual marriage, right? And she's married to a man. And once we got that, she comes to me and I said, babe, you're better at this than me. I stress about it, I worry about it, and I just trust her with that. And over time, right, we figured out our finances and we've yoked together, but that happens when you say, Tammy's good at these things, I'm good at this.
Yeah, key word in that is over time.
Right.
It's something you grow into. That's good.
Yeah, and another thing, just really, really understand each other's strengths and weaknesses as not sins, but weaknesses. I tend to be very forward-thinking and visionary. I miss out on the present and family. Tammy is sometimes way too focused in the here and now and can't see, down the street. And so we have to learn, okay, I need Tammy, right? Because her strength, her mantle is family, what's important. Tammy needs to learn that my mantle is the future and where we're going. And so we've learned to work that together. So I just really want you, that was a nugget. Man, if you missed it, God's grace. That was one of the most powerful things I've heard just dropped in a kitchen. And here's why, because she said it was the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit spoke to her just like the Holy Spirit wants to speak to you. And there are some things that you're doing that the Holy Spirit's going, why are you doing this?
My heart when I was listening to the message was for, okay, it's Mother's Day weekend. Lisa's clearly talking about herself as a mother and two mothers, which it's not lost on us that there's a room, and a room, I mean like a virtual room. The room everyone's sitting in is not just mothers. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, what is this for them? And for everybody out there who maybe you want to be a mom and that's not been your story, you haven't been able to have a baby, your kids are grown, whatever that looks like for everyone else watching, here's what I would say is some of the most significant people in my life have been women who are not my mom. I mean, my mom is wonderful. She's significant. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we all have a way to contribute as women. Like Lisa gave such good stats about the value of women in our world, and not to replace men or outdo men, but just the value that we bring. And so to every woman out there, whether you're a mom or not, here's what I would want to say to you. If you're not a mom yet, let this be a word to you about the mom you want to be. Learn from that wisdom that Lisa gave. And then if you're not able to be a mom, or that's just not your choice or the choice for you, who in your life can you be investing in? Lisa's been one person, but I've had other women in my life older than me say, let me love on you in this way. Let me invest. We've had men and women, Grandpa Jack, who's been that figure in our life in different ways. So none of us are exempt from being someone significant and strong in the life of someone else. And then I think, what would you say to all of this? So I'm speaking to moms who maybe aren't actual moms, but to all the men in the room or the kids in the room or the teens in the room, what would your word for them be to their actual mom? Because if we're not a mom, we all have a mom.
Yeah. What I would say is you need to take this day to honor your mom. And you say, why? It's just a holiday. Hallmark invented. Well, actually, the 10 Commandments invented it, and it says honor your mother and father. The Apostle Paul says it's the first commandment with a promise that things will go well for you if you honor mom and dad. So think about some things that you could honor your mom for. And I realize it's difficult to do under these times and circumstances, but you need to do that. And then let me speak to the single women. You know, some of you are like, I'm not a mom, I'm single. You know, this message completely didn't speak to me, and that's because you didn't listen. One of the things I wanted you to hear as a single woman is how much value you add to a man. And Lisa kind of ran through that rather quickly. But a woman, right, adds value to a man's income ability, adds value to who he is and how he sees himself.
Years to his life.
10 years to his life, right? Which is amazing because I thought you'd kill me. But, you know, right, we're kidding a little bit. I just want you to hear me. You have value. And now if you're a single man in our church, what are you doing? What are you doing? Do you want to die quicker, make less money, and be dumber? And you're like, yeah, I'm going to keep playing video games. Get off the video games. Find a good woman in our church. Settle down. Live longer. Make more money. Be happier and be smarter. Okay? That's what she said. And you guys just need to do that. And here's the thing, is a lot of you are looking for Mr. or Mrs. Perfect. And here's the thing that I realized about Tammy after about 10 years of some good, fighting, right? I realized that a lot of the things that drove me crazy about her, and I don't mean crazy like, oh, I love you. I mean crazy like, I need away from you, right? Social distancing, instantly.
Before it was a thing,
yeah.
we had it figured out.
I realized that a lot of the things that drove me crazy about Tammy were the things I needed the most. I needed to hear these truths. I needed to have these things spoken to me. And really at the end of the day, here's what I hated about Tammy. It was her strength. What sin is that? And it was her strength and her unwillingness to relinquish and say, that's okay, because there were things about me that weren't okay. Things relationally, things leadership-wise, things as a husband. And a lot of the times, the things that you guys are nitpicking on, you need to hear that and say, okay, Tammy loves me. And here's some things I'm doing that are really frightening her and making her feel insecure. So I need to listen to that. And, I oftentimes I'll see singles in our church, and we're just friends. Like, you guys are husband and wife and you don't even know it. Everybody else can see it. And listen to me, singles. Some of you are so caught up looking for your ideal picture of what you think a wife would look like. And that wife is right next to you. That husband is right next to you. And God's already put him there. And singles, you don't have to get married. God loves you. Jesus was single. Jeremiah was single. You don't have to be married or to have children to fulfill God's will. Jesus didn't do that, and he fulfilled God's will better than anything else. But I think it's important that you heard that men and women are a complement to each other. And when a husband and wife operate in unity, great things happen. And a lot of us don't think about this. She talked a lot about Genesis, and some of you have never read Genesis. Go back and read it. And she talked about who Adam was, but there was something missing. And so God's plan was, right, to create a helper. And then I want you to go and look at Genesis 3 and look at the breakdown. So God tells Adam he has authority over every animal. You know what that means? The only reason the snake was in the garden is because Adam let him in. So Adam lets the snake in the garden. Eve listens to the snake. And that's how we fall together. When men fail to lead and women listen to other voices and other things that are saying, is that what God really said? So God whispers to women, you're not good enough, you're not right, you're not a good mom, and men fall asleep at the spiritual helm because they let the snake come into the garden. Adam had all authority over every animal, read it. Even though the snake was crafty, Adam, he could have said, be gone, but instead he just sat there and watched his wife have a conversation with something he knew had no business in the garden. And so I want you to think about that as a couple. What are some things that you've let slither into your home, into your life, that has no business there? And you two as a couple need to say, you know what, this Mother's Day, we need to get our family right. We need to do this. And I just love Lisa. And let me reiterate, let boys be boys, right? Boys are boys. Tammy was so cute. We had two girls, right? Barbie dolls. What were those little things they played with? Polly Pockets. Our house was full of Polly Pockets, right? When I went to Toys R Us, when there was a thing called Toys R Us, we went to the pink aisle. It was pink everything. And we no G.I. Joes, no Star Wars. It was pink everything. So we have our son, and Tammy says, we're not going to have guns in the house. No guns. My son took a coat hanger off the rack and pointed at Tammy and shot her with it. Bop, 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 bop. And she goes, I go, that's just him. It's just him. And just know that God's made boys, boys, and God's made girls, girls. And we need to honor that. And we're better together. And we need that.
And that's what I would say is women text me all the time, how do I get my husband to act like a man? And I think that's the word Lisa had, is treat him like one. Stop treating him like a boy. Give some wiggle room for the readjustment, but let him be a man in your home and support that. And when he gets it right, make a deal of it. And for everybody who's not a husband and wife, not married, not having kids this weekend, like, this is such a great time for you to be looking and tracking with where you want to go.
And I would also say this to our younger, audience at Sandals Church. Our daughters complain a lot. They're both dating, and they compare their 21-year-old and 25-year-old boyfriends to their 48-year-old dad. And I just have to tell my girls, I haven't always been 48. And I became 48, and I became the man I am today because Tammy loved me through my stupidity and stood by me through some mistakes. And I made some mistakes. But oftentimes, the best way men lead is by blowing it and having to come back and say, you know what? I was wrong, and you were right, and I should have listened. And at the end of the day, men and women, man, it's not about submitting to each other, right? What comes before that? We submit to Christ. We submit to Him first. And we trust Him, and we trust God knows what's best. So I just want to close by saying thank you so much for everybody who gives. Thank you for letting me have a week off. We're so grateful. This was a crazy week, and thank you, Lisa, for filling in. I'll be back next weekend. I want to close with something really special, and I want you to know, for those of you who give, I can't believe that you are giving. In the midst of uncertainty, Sandals has been able to pay our bills. We haven't had to lay anybody off, and that's because of you and your generosity. And because you're giving, because you trust God, we have reached on the internet 3 million separate views. I want that just to sink in. 3 million people have heard the gospel, heard our vision, been introduced to Sandals Church because you give. Because without margin, without money, there is no ministry. It does not happen. And so I just want to say thank you so much. And get this. So 3 million views,
This part's incredible.
79 countries. 79 countries around the world. Who'd have thought? A little church in our
Started in
little
our living
home
room.
in Riverside. 79 countries around the world are tuning in, and that's only possible because you give. So I want to close by saying thank you for what you give. And I want you to listen to this video. It's Mother's Day. And this video, you can just call in and leave us messages. We listen to them. And from time to time, we post them. But this is from a woman who runs a woman's shelter for women who are escaping abusive relationships and they have kids. And she sent this in and just told us she was so thankful for the ministry that you provide because she was able to lead. Listen to this, moms. She was able to lead mothers who are coming from abusive situations. She was able to lead their children to Jesus Christ because of the ministry of Sandals Church. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving, because you gave these little kids that you're going to hear about. This is a real phone call, right? It's always like those car commercials. These are not actors. These are real people. This is not an actor. It's a real person who called in, and she's just saying thank you so much for what you do, Sandals Church, and how you give, because she was able to share Christ with these kids who are escaping such horrible circumstances here on earth. They know they have a Father in heaven, and they know that there are women that love them and share the gospel with them. So thank you so much, Sandals Church. So listen to this, and I'll see you next week as we start our new series called Elevate. You don't want to miss it, because I believe God can lift you out of whatever you're going through right now because of who He is and not because of your circumstances. So thank you so much, guys. We love you so much. Thank you, Lisa Bevere. God bless, guys.
Hi, my name's Kelly, and I manage a local shelter here in Riverside for women and children who are fleeing from domestic violence. We actually bring our shelter to worship with Sandals Church every Sunday. Many of our moms continue to attend Sandals Church even after their time with us is done, which is usually about 6 months. When I saw that we were observing the Lord's Supper, it allowed me the opportunity to have a group chat with the small kiddos in the house, because we'll all be watching the service together as a family. Well, the conversation about the Lord's Supper naturally opened up the floor for me to offer a time for the children to accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior. And I'm so thrilled to share that three of my shelter kiddos prayed to receive Christ this Good Friday morning. Thank you so much, Sandals Church, for providing opportunities for God to be glorified, no matter how near or far. It's just a simple reminder that despite this coronavirus and this quarantine, God is sovereign, and He's still sitting on His throne. God bless, and thank you so much.
Dios te guarde y bendiga, que extienda su amor y te muestre favor. Dios te mire con agrado y te dé paz. Canta conmigo, Dios. Dios te guarde y bendiga, que extienda su amor y te muestre favor. Dios te mire con agrado y te dé paz. Canta con nosotros, amén. Amén, 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 que te cubra con su gracia hasta 1000 generaciones, tu familia y tus hijos y los hijos de tus hijos, que te cubra con su gracia hasta 1000 generaciones, tu familia y tus hijos y los hijos de tus hijos, que te cubra con su gracia hasta 1000 generaciones, tu familia y tus hijos y los hijos de tus hijos, que te cubra con su gracia hasta 1000 generaciones, tu familia y tus hijos y los hijos de tus hijos, su presencia
Gracias por pasar este día con nosotros. Estoy tan agradecido por ese recuerdo que nos dio esta canción de que Dios nos cubre con su gracia. Y aunque no podemos estar juntos en persona, queremos que sepan que estamos aquí para ayudarlos. Si necesitan oración o apoyo de cualquier manera, díganos. Si no, aquí en el chat, diríjase a sandalschurch.com/help. La próxima semana vamos a empezar una nueva serie que se trata de cómo elevar la vida mental, emocional y espiritual. Entonces, invite a todos tus amigos y nosotros estamos tan ansiosos para verte la próxima semana.